Well, my son's truck is ready to go, my wife's truck is ready to go, and it is now time for me to finish upgrading Tango, who will then be ready to go. Yes, in fact, my friends, it is almost time for my 10th year of filming tough truck competitions. And normally, MOA trucks, like the one you're seeing here, which means motor on axle trucks, there's a motor mounted right to a transmission on each axle, eliminating the drive shafts. Trucks like these are normally not allowed in 1/10 scale competition. Now, in none of the years that I've filmed tough truck competitions did I ever really compete. I'm more focused on, out there having a good time with my friends and making some good film footage for everybody all around the world. Now, this one is going to be allowed this year because the Rude Boys RC group are fairly a progressive group. They're going to be running a Class 4, which is the unlimited class, and I am allowed to bring in Tango. So beautiful, motor on axle. We can see what it looks like out there on the event, but the first thing I got to do is get rid of these older hand-wound brushed motors that I have in here. This one definitely with these motors and the elements like mud and whatnot would be a heck of a lot better replaced with, boom, you know it. Me and TEKIN have been working together for a long time, and here is their element-proof Rock 412. Now, this is a brushless crawler motor. You can see here 3100 kV, going to give me plenty of power out there. Some of you guys will be like, why didn't you get the HD motor? Because it is so much more powerful. And again, it really comes down to the fitment, right? My lower links under this rock bouncer right here won't allow for a larger canned motor. So you can see it would actually just kind of butt into it. So though I would love to be running this 3100 kV Rock 412 motor is going to kick butt. Now I did have to, I'm not done modifying, it looks a little ugly right now, I've got to sand these down a little bit. This is a TEKIN RX4. I know TEKIN's looking at this right now just quaking a little bit going, oh, why did you cut the top off? But really I've got to have it a low profile in there so I can get two of these in here, run the front and back brushless motors, so when we go into the mud, we can see some flinging, flying action. Okay, I'm just removing the plate off of this RC four-wheel drive Bully 2 comp axle. This is where the motor is right behind. That's where it's mounted. Take this out, keep those screws in there. You can see here that this has seen a little bit of action before. You'll also take note that it's not packed full of marine grease. Now, the reason why that is because I do use a dry lithium-based lubricant in here, and I find the marine grease, if it's in something like this and it goes in the mud, it just collects all those rocks and then it gets in between the gears. So I'd rather just keep them, basically water resistant and keep it free and clean of any grease. Boom! TEKIN RX4 element proof, guys. This is their basically flagship ESC for the trail and scale rock crawling trail experience. I know I said trail twice, but I'm telling you right up, scale trail and rock crawling trail can be two separate things altogether. Sealed for your security. I always imagine angels singing when I get out new electronics. That's how I know I'm weird. I enjoy the smell of new electronics, but I openly admit it. Okay, what else comes in the package? You got your marine grease, which you're going to need for your sensor port on your ESC and your fan plug area. Here is the fan. Now, I won't be using this because simply I'm going to be running in mud and dirt in a competition, so I already know that'll get messed up. And here is, I believe, this is a hot wire setup. So if you have an extra, like the little module that talks to your ESC to quick program it, that's what it is, and a a hot wire update ticket, as well as 3 different wires, black, red, and white. What are these for? Well, TEKIN always seems to include enough wires to get from your ESC to your motor. When this is brushless, takes 3 wires from the ESC to the motor, but they never seem to include the 2 wires that you need for battery, so positive and negative. So I'll try to find a link. If I can find one for Amazon down below, you guys can check it out. This is simply 14 gauge silicone covered wire. Now, I know for a long time, thanks to Amazon, I was able to easily get it online and sent right to my house. Red and black, I've had this forever, and I use it for anything that I need, and 14 gauge is the right size, so there you go. Now, TEKIN's wire is 12 gauge, which makes it easier on the wire stripper just to kind of pull it off. I try to leave as much of the wire on there as possible, though I know I have used like a straight razor a lot and just kind of rolled it along to try to pull off the end, but I have sliced my finger open a few times, just not being careful enough. Not like it didn't heal up and callus a bit. So there's the next one. Strip both sides of the wires. So here we go. A lot of people ask me about soldering or soldering or whatever you want to call it, wherever you're from in the world. It's all correct. What I'll do is I'll normally use a flux core solder itself. I'll heat up the wire. You can see I don't even use a jig. I should. It would make my life easier. One of the secrets though is having a good soldering station. You want to have consistent heat. My heat on my iron right now is 765, which is insane. A lot of you guys are like, what are you doing? But it's just my style. I like how it works. Flux core means I don't have to use any extra flux. I just have to heat up the wire, and that material just wicks itself way in there. No problem at all. So this is going to be for the battery. Now the battery I'm going to use is a ultra plug. I can grab that in a minute once I find it again. Always, hey? Isn't that the way of the road? Where did I put it again? I think that's just what happens in RC, period. I remember years ago though, in 2009, when I filmed and posted my first series of TTC videos, no one had ever seen anything like it before, including myself. And it was held in Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, by the Axle Twisters. Troy Hatfield, I remember him back then, putting on a huge show. It was like a hill climb and the frame twister and the tank trap and all that original stuff. And I gotta tell you, I was inspired by all the people that got together with their 10th scale trucks. In fact, 10th scale trail trucks back then were basically laughed at because everyone thought, who the heck is gonna wanna go out in the woods and walk around? They'd comment in my videos saying, what are you doing? People must look at you weird. And they still do today, but I'm still out there having a great time with friends and family. And really, that's what the TTC draw for me always is. I'm not there to compete, right? I'm just there to capture film. And when I'm having fun with my friends, I think that translates on camera and it makes people want to try it as well. And we have seen so many events happen in the last decade for 10th scale trail trucks. Like, what an epic thing to be a part of, this hobby. Now, where's that end? Now let's get into the nitty gritty here. You'll see on these posts where we're supposed to be soldering, that there is this small dip right there, so you can pool the solder in there on each one. Now this is A post, B post, and C post. This is going to be for my brushless setup. Going to have red, white, and black. Now, why do I even talk about this? Well, I'm going to want to pre-tin these as well. So I'm going to heat up these posts just with my iron. Take that flux core and fill up that little pool. Super simple. I don't want to cold solder. You want to make sure that post is nice and hot, and that's why I actually use an iron that's consistently digitally capped at that heat. There we go, it's focusing on my iron. That's okay though. You guys get the point. So now we've got all those little pieces already with a nice bit of solder waiting to be used. Now bring out the wires. Now you can see I've joined every one except for the middle. Now this is going to be the white one. What I'm going to show you here is just to heat up that dab first. Right, get that nice and liquid form. Then bring in your wire. and bring it down on top. That way the solder underneath is nice and warm and will melt a little bit quicker, and you can have adhesion between the two when they melt together. Same thing on the ends of the motor here. You can see that I've already tinned these tabs. Each tab has a letter which coincides with the wire. So it's going to be red A, which is the matching one on the ESC, right? So red is going to go to tab A, white is going to go to tab B, and black to tab C. Another handy tip when you're putting on shrink wrap, for example, and now the black may not matter so much, but if you're trying to avoid any of the black mark of the lighter, just make sure to use the center of the flame, right? Don't use the orange part, and then that way it'll still shrink up everything for you, but it doesn't leave a hideous black mess. Modifying brand new expensive electronics right out of the box can be a hair-raising experience, I tell you what. But I know that I'm not going to worry about any of my waterproofing being, damaged or anything, but because basically the entire board in there, 2 boards, are dipped in conformal coating, I think. They shouldn't have any issue at all. In fact, it doesn't look like conformal coating, it looks like a resin of some sort. Now the tricky part. To get the motor in place, gotta be a little extra creative here. Down through the belly. Just like that. Ta-da! It's beautiful! You can barely see it, it's dark. It's right in there. That sounds perfect. Okay, I'm just going to install the silicone grease along the sensor ports, the cable port there, same as the fan port. That way, even though everything is sealed, no water gets around those pins when I go to plug everything in. Perfect. So now 2 ESCs are in. I also ran the sensor cable down to the motor where I made sure to use that silicone grease in both sides. Right, you can see the TEKIN brushless looking beautiful right up there. Look at, there it is, the Rock 412 element proof brushless motor. Now the bonus is that underneath this rock bouncer in the cage, you can see there's no transmission. There's a belly plate, but no transmission. This is where I keep my batteries down there. Both of my plug wires, of course, for each ESC is right there. And I had to make sure not to overpower my receiver because you get 2 plugs. You get 1 plug per ESC that you plug into your receiver for each channel. Only one of these needs to power the receiver. So I pulled the red plug, the red wire out of the plug that plugs into the receiver. That might be confusing for you, but I've covered it in other shows, and if you need questions, just post it below. I'll do the best I can to help. I say we put in a battery or a set of batteries and see what this is like. Okay, everything's all set up. I've done a radio calibration for each one of these, which means I've set the neutral point, the full throttle, as well as the full reverse. Both of those have been done on here. Really, it's just a matter of making sure everything is working properly. So is my steering good to go? Yes, and if I'm going to run rear wheel steering, good. And what if it's just rear wheel? Oh, we can crab and then rear, right? Perfect. So I can overdrive and underdrive as well. You can kind of see why this wouldn't be allowed to compete with normal 1/10 scale shaft-driven ladder frame chassis trucks, because this definitely has a bit of an advantage. But running in an unlimited class would be absolutely perfect because, hey, why not? Get outside and have fun with RC. Why discriminate against people that have, motor on axles? So do I have any power going to these? Oh yeah, baby, plenty of juice. Now, it's not going to be like mind-blowing crazy power, but I don't want something that's not very controllable. I want to have something that I can take out into the mud, know that it's still going to fly around quite a bit, and have some speed to get up the hill in the hill climb, as well as some wheel speed in the tug-of-war. Let's see here. Oh yeah, baby. Woohoo! Let's get it down to the end. Don't want any mistakes here. Yeah, I love it, guys. I can hardly wait for this event. Now, everything is all locked and loaded. ready to roll.